Vayomer Hashem al Avram. The end of the previous parsha. Remember, the end of the previous parsha introduces. There's a man named Terach, and he's got a son Avram, and then this parsha begins. Vayomer Hashem al Avram, Lech Lecha me'artzecha me'moledecha me'beis avicha la'aretz asher areka. So this is the first communication. It's the first time in history that a Jew has been spoken to. The first Jew in history has been spoken to. Is the first time anything has been said to a Jew, right? God said to Noach, build the teva, but Noach wasn't considered a Jew yet. The first Jew is Avram Avinu. That's where we count from. The Avos are three. The Gemara says, Ein Avos ela shlosha. There are three patriarchs of the Jewish people. And the first one is Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Those are the patriarchs of the Jewish people. The first sentence God says to Avram Avinu is really, and this is what's amazing, he says two words. He says, Lech lecha me'artzecha me'moledecha me'beis avicha. Leave your land, your birthplace, your father's home, and go to the land which I show you. So you have over here, first of all, you got in two words, two short words, you've got a description of the entire Jewish destiny throughout history. What are the two words? Lech lecha. Lech lecha. What does Lech lecha mean? Start going. Okay? There you go. Start going. Lech lecha. Get moving. Right? Well, isn't that a history of Jewish people? Jewish people have always been on the move. Right? Jewish people have always been on the go. Jewish people have always been in exile. Constantly going to exile. Constantly exiled from one place to another. I told you, you go to any town that you go to in any country. Go to America, go to England, go to what do you call it? South America, South Africa, any place that I've been where they have Jews. Right? There's always the old Jewish neighborhood, there's the new Jewish neighborhood. Right? Oh, that's where the Jews used to be till they moved. They moved from the west side to the east side. They moved from the south side to the north side. They moved. The Jews always moved. Why are the Jews always moving? Jews are always moving. The answer is Lech lecha, because Jews are going to move. There's never going to be a time where Jews are going to be in a state of rest until you have a Beis Hamikdash, until the Jews are occupying the land of Israel, with a proper Jewish Sanhedrin, king, whatever it's going to be. Up until the point we're in exile, Lech lecha, description of Jewish history. It's interesting. Two words. First words, Avram Avinu, is a prediction of what's going to be, number one. Number two, it's an assignment of Jewish history. What's the assignment? What's the job of a Jew in life? What's the job of a Torah Jew?
Is to make people believe in Hashem.
Yeah, who's the first person you got to make believe in Hashem?
Oh, Jews, like other Jews.
Yeah, the first one is you got to make yourself believe in Hashem.
Oh, yourself.
Yeah, right, yeah. But we're always worried about other people. First, I got to take care of myself. You're right. Yeah, okay, got awareness. You're right. That's certainly one of the roles. What's the other role of a Torah Jew?
Be a nation of priests.
Be a nation of priests. True. There's one word. Chesed is also something we do. There's one bigger word, a bigger description of what the Jewish people, what the destiny, what the role of a Jew is in life. We've spoken about this in the past. There's one role that a Jew has to carry out in life. You have one job in life. Everything else is part of that job. But you have one job. You know what it is?
Maybe.
One word. One word.
Torah?
Torah is certainly part of the job. So it's certainly the way we accomplish it. Hi, Daniel. One job. Grow. That's it. Grow. Our job is to grow. Another way of saying grow is go. Move. Don't remain stationary. Not physically, and don't remain stationary spiritually. Grow. Our job in life is to grow. Our job in life is to achieve, to build ourselves, to accomplish. To grow as a person. To work on our traits, to work on our midos, to learn more Torah, to do more chesed, to raise a family. It's all part of the job. But ultimately, it's because I was put into the world at a certain level, and I meant to leave the world at a higher level. That's the job of a Jew. So the goal of the Torah Jew is to grow. And that's why Kodesh Baruch Hu says, Lech lecha. Both, the words Lech lecha is a prediction of Jewish history. You're going to be on the go. Part of the Lech lecha is a prediction. You're going to be on the move. And part of it is that it's a description of what your task is in life as a Jew. Your task in life is to grow, is to develop yourself. People ask about, different types of Jews. There are Hasidim, and there are Sfardim, and there are Litvaks, and there's this group, and there's that group, and there's the other group. In God's eyes, there are only two groups of Jews. In God's eyes, there are only two groups of Jews. There are those that are growing and those that are stagnating. Those are the only two. Those are the two categories. You're growing or you're stagnating. Those are the only two types of Jews. If you reach a level and say, well, listen, I'm happy with my level, I'm comfortable, I'm done growing, then you're stagnating, you're going downwards. And there's no such thing. A Jew never says, okay, I'm good enough. There's no such thing as good enough. Good enough isn't good enough, as the old saying goes. Right? There's no good enough. You're good. You're doing chesed, do more chesed. You're learning Torah, learn more Torah. You don't get angry, try to become even more relaxed. Right? Try to become even more calmer. And so on and so forth. And therefore, God says to Avinu Lech Lecha. That's the first thing. Number 3, the word Lech Lecha is the third task of the Jewish people. Okay, so we see two meanings so far. If you take the word Lech Lecha and you put it together, you know what it spells out? The Hebrew word lichluch. What is lichluch? Dirt. Lech Lecha. Get away from the filth of your surroundings. So in Avram Avinu's days, the filth of the surroundings was idol worship. Immorality. He had to leave the land of idol worshippers. Go to the land of Canaan. They weren't much better, but at least he's away from where his own personal background. In our day and age, that's also a job of a Torah Jew. That's also part of our growth. Lech lecha, get away from the filth of your surroundings. Right? Okay. In our day and age, it's a little harder because the filth of our surroundings is right in the palm of our hand now. But in our day and age, a person has to learn. That's the job of a Jew. Lech lecha, get away from the surroundings. Okay, that's how the parsha begins. Now, one of the questions the commentaries ask over here, you know that Avram Avinu, are you aware? He went through 10 tests. Are you aware of that? Avram Avinu went through 10 challenges, 10 tests by Kodesh Baruch Hu. What were the tests? You know that he went through. What was the final test? What's that? The Yakeda, right? That he had a Shech Yitzchak. Okay. So there were 10 tests that Avram went through, and the tests are obviously in an increasing difficulty factor. Otherwise, I mean, once you test somebody at a level 5, why would you give them a level 3 test, right? The tests are an increasing rate of difficulty. And the culmination is the Yakeda. The Yakeda is the most difficult test. So according to the listing in Pirkei Avos and in other places, when they list the 10 tests of Avram Avinu, what was the first test does not appear in the written Torah. The first test is based on the Medrash. The Medrash says, what was the first test that Avram Avinu faced?
Destroy the sculptures?
Well, he destroyed the sculpture. That led to the first test. What was it? Ur-Kazdim, right? Avram believed that's what we have in the last week's parsha, where he tells him to leave Ur-Kazdim. It's on page 50, 3 lines from the bottom. He says Haran died. 3 lines from the bottom. It describes Terach. He has 3 sons, Avram, Nochor, and Haran. And then it says Vayamas Haran al pnei Terach aviv. You see that? Page 50, 3 lines from the bottom. Haran dies in the lifetime of Terach, his father, Be'eretz Moladito, in the land of his birthplace, Be'ur-Kazdim. Ur-Kazdim sounds like the name of a place, but the Medrash says Ur is from the word Or, which is fire. So what happened? That's what you're alluding to. Avram Avinu destroyed Terach's idols. So then Terach was upset, so he takes Avram Avinu to Nimrod. Nimrod is the emperor. And he says to him, okay, whose side are you on? God or the idols? And he fires up the furnace, and he says to Avram Avinu, okay, what's it going to be? If you don't acknowledge my idols, if you remain, with loyal to your God, then I'm going to throw you in the fire. And Avram says, okay, I'm remaining loyal to my God. That's a test. And Nimrod puts him into the fire, and Avram Avinu goes into the fire, and he survives the fire. That's a test, right? Oh, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because we're going to see it's going to strengthen the question. Okay? He puts him in the fire. Okay. Then Nimrod turns to Haran, who's Avram's brother, the father of whom? Anybody remember Haran is the father of whom? Father of Lot. He's the father of Lot, Avram's nephew. And Nimrod says to Haran, whose side are you on? So Haran had made up his mind in advance. That, well, we'll see. If he was the ultimate fair weather fan. If Avram Avinu dies, then I'm a Nimrod man. If Avram Avinu survives, then I'm an Avram man. Okay. So he sees Avram come. He says, well, I'm with him. So Nimrod says, no kidding. And he says, no kidding. Right? So they toss Haran into the fire, and he burns. Okay? Now, which itself begs a question, by the way. Very begs. I mean, let's say it was you. I mean, if I was me, frankly, if it was me, and I'm even willing to contemplate you know, if he dies, I'm with Nimrod. That means I'm not such a believer, right? I'm not such a believer. Okay, so I'll go over to Nimrod. I'll go over to Nimrod. I'll make it easy for myself. I'll just join. I'll be a Nimrod guy. I mean, my chances, I'm still better off being a Nimrod. I mean, how often do you see people walk out of a fire? So why would Avram Avinu go? Why would Haran go and join up with Avram Avinu? You still got nothing to lose by joining Nimrod, right? So you know what the Medrash says? It's very interesting. The Medrash says his body didn't burn. Only his soul burnt. It says Haran's body didn't burn. His soul burnt. What does that mean?
He lacked faith.
What?
He lacked faith. He only did it because of, he did it, oh, if he can do it, I can do it. But he didn't have faith in Hashem.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. That's why he dies. He's lacking in faith. But what would anybody else who got tossed into a furnace that they used to, a boiling furnace that they used to fire up bricks, what would happen to anybody else? They were crisped, yeah. Right? So you see, the fact that only internally he burnt, only his soul burnt, means that he really wasn't. He was on a very high level of faith. He was on a high enough level of faith that his body didn't burn. But at some imperceptible level, just like the soul is not visible, at some imperceptible level, he was just up short of our. I want to tell you like this. Let's make it clear. If Avram Avinu and Haran would come walking into this room right now, you wouldn't know which one is Avram Avinu, which one is Haran. Now, Haran is not some guy that you found in a bar down in Ben Yehuda Street who said, yeah, let's play the old furnace Nimrod game. You know, have a couple of shots and jump in. That's not Haran. That's not Haran. Haran is somebody who's obviously got tremendous faith. And what ends up coming from Haran? Lot. And what comes from Lot? Mashiach. All right, so we're talking about a man who's got, obviously he's got something. Obviously he's got something, okay? Now, as Joe said correctly, that was one heck of a test. That's it. I mean, if you're Avram Avinu, fire or Nimrod? I'll go into the fire. He goes in, he comes out alive. Test number one. Test number two is what we have right over here. Lech Lecha. Pack up your bags and go. Where are we going?
Anywhere.
Just go. Just go. Okay? Now, travel in those days wasn't like travel nowadays. Travel in those days was, loaded up a donkey and you started traveling. And, it's a hassle. And it's not like you have frozen kosher meals to take with you. Right? Now, that's a test.
So that's easier
than
going into a furnace.
Oh, that's exactly the question. Very good. That being the case, I mean, honestly, which is a bigger test? Which is a bigger test? The furnace or packing up and traveling a little bit? Daniel, I say to you this. Daniel, I'm going to make you a deal. I want you to go to the airport. There's a ticket waiting for you. First class. First class ticket. He's smiling already. Yeah, that's some test. Yeah. No, that wasn't the test, Daniel. Yeah, there's a ticket waiting for you. And you get on the plane, you fly. What would your reaction be?
I mean, it's not that comfortable, but why not?
Well, yeah, what else would your reaction be?
I'd be nervous.
Would you ask me where you're flying to?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, they'll tell you at the airport. So you go to the airport, you got a ticket, there's a guy from El Al comes over. You're Daniel? Yeah. From North America? Yeah. Kaplan Shear? Yeah, that's the one. Okay, I got a ticket for you. Where am I going? You're going to Italy. No kidding. Yeah, and there'll be a ticket waiting for you at the counter in Italy. To where? They'll let you know at the counter. Right? Kosher meal, first class, everything wonderful. Then you get to Italy, there's a ticket for you. Tickets to Brazil. Right? And in Brazil, they'll let you know where you're going to. From Brazil, you go to Kansas City. Kansas City, but you take, well, how much of that do you think you could take? First class with meals, how much of that do you think you could take? Joe's thinking, I got to test me, try me, I can handle that, It's not so easy. It depends how long. The layover, all the questions start popping up. At the end of the day, to go, okay, Avram Avinu had it much tougher. Much tougher. You're loading up a donkey, you're traveling, you got no fits, who knows, you don't even know where you're going. You don't even know where you're going. He says, to the land which I will show you. Okay? At the end of the day, what would you rather do, wander or encounter the furnace? But I'd still take, 9 out of 10 travelers surveyed recommend traveling to furnaces, right? I'm not, listen, I'll survive it. I'll survive it even if I have a backache. I'll survive it. Furnaces are an all or nothing proposition. Unless if you're not having a good day, furnaces are bad. Right? So the answer, so then why, if in the order of the test, why does Ur Kasdim come first? It should be Lech Lecha, then Ur Kasdim, or put Ur Kasdim later on the list. Why does that come first? The answer is, a good question, right, Max? I mean, where are you? You're here. Right here, good question. Yeah? What's the answer? What's the answer? Why is Ur-Kasdim in certain ways an easier test? The answer is Avram Avinu was a person who had been spreading an ideology of monotheism in the ancient world. There's a God, God created the world. In an idol-worshipping pagan world, Avram Avinu has been spreading this idea of a religion. He's a kind man, he's a sweet man, he's a nice man, completely different life goals than everybody around him. So if you go into a furnace and you die, so at least you die as an ideologist. A lot of people in history have given up their lives for an ideal. To give up your life for an ideal, at least you can go, you die for you give up your life for an ideal. At least I can imagine what people will say to me about me after I'm gone. Ooh, you know, he was such an ideologist, he was willing to die. Okay, I'm willing to do it. Here, you got a man's packing up his donkeys. And the neighbor is say, hey, Abe, where are you going? I don't know. Why are you going? Well, the Lord told me. Did he say where? No. How long are you going to be traveling for? No. You make yourself look like a total fool. What, are you out of your mind? The Lord, you're going to do what the Lord told you, and the Lord didn't even finish telling you what to do? You understand what you look like. And therefore, the commentaries say that here you look like a fool. Here you look like a fool. Over there you look like a hero. And there are a lot of people who would rather die looking like a hero than live like a fool. A lot of people commit suicide because they looked like fools. They committed suicide because they say they'd rather be dead. So Avram Avinu now has to stay alive looking like a fool. That's the test. Okay. So he goes to the land of Israel, and when he gets to the land of Israel, he finds out that there's a famine in the land. I'm just skipping ahead because it's late in the week. But he finds out there's a famine in the land, and now imagine you're him. You get to the land of Israel. God said, go to the land, and he says, I'm going to have all the blessings, and everything's going to be good. You get to the land of Israel, there's a famine. And not only there's a famine, it's expensive. Got to pay $400 eventually when he buries Sari Imenu. He's got to pay for the worst piece of soil, land that's used for graves. Is not good land. To bury Sari Imenu, he has to pay 400 zuzim, 400 shekels, which was an astronomical sum, right? So there's famine. There is runaway inflation. The land's occupied. The commentaries say, right, that's exactly what we're going through today, right? It's difficult to make it in Israel, and there's inflation, and there's what do you call, you know, I was here in the country when they have, what's the currency called in Israel today?
New Israeli Shekel.
The new Israeli Shekel. Right? It's called the new Israeli Shekel. Right? We call it the shekel, right? But it's called the new Israeli Shekel, which with a keenly honed, finely tuned Gemara mind, you should be able to determine that what? There was an old Israeli Shekel, right? If it's called the new Israeli Shekel, there was an old Israeli, and there was an old Israeli shekel. We were here when the old Israeli shekel was 1,000. You remember that? No, you weren't here, Binyamin. You were 1,000. Yeah, so they fixed it up. You know how they fixed it up? They knocked off 3 zeros and just reprinted it and made it 1. Made it the new Israeli shekel, which all economists will tell you doesn't work. Does not work. You can't work. Any economist will tell you that's a recipe for disaster. It worked. In Israel, these things happen. Right? It worked. In Israel, they don't follow the regular. I was once in a cab. So the cab driver, I know there was some trouble in the country, political trouble and money trouble and security trouble. And the cab driver looks at me and goes, tell me, what's going to be in 20 years? What's going to be here in 20 years? So I started laughing. So he says, what are you laughing at? Mata tzochek. So I said to him, because 20 years ago, people said the same thing. They said, what's going to be in this country in 20 years? I said, here, you and I, we're sitting here. Here we are. We're not closing up and going home. Here we are. We're going to make it. Here we are. Because Israel obeys different rules. But it's not easy. It's not easy. So I don't know when the last time you were on a bus in the United States, Gesundheit, on public transportation. I don't know when the last time you were on public transportation and a bus driver like my bus driver did this morning, all of a sudden he stopped at a red light. He gets up at the red light, walks over to the drawer on the bus. He parks it, gets out of his seat, opens up the thing. He pulls out some tree branches and hands them out so everybody can make a borei atzei b'samim. Make a bracha atzei b'samim on the bus. I don't remember that ever happening on the CTA in Chicago. Bus driver, all of a sudden, everybody's making brachas atzei b'samim. Guys, happy as a lark. Israel's different, but doesn't mean it's easy. Doesn't make it easy. Okay. So that's as far as, by the way, the same bus driver on Erev Rosh Hashanah. This is incredible. Erev Rosh Hashanah, the bus driver gets up on the bus, and because he drives a regular route, he drives a bus, one of these special routed buses that takes guys to Kolol every morning, and he drives. So he gets up Erev Rosh Hashanah, he stands in front of the bus, he says, I just want to apologize to anybody if I offended anybody this year. It's been my privilege to drive you all year to Kolol. And a guy gets up on the bus, he makes this announcement. But it's not easy. So Avraham Avinu comes to the land of Israel. You can imagine, God said, go to the land, gets to the land of Israel, and there's a famine. Yeah?
Just how long ago was the old shekel? I mean,
The old shekel is probably, I'm guessing about 20 years. Here we are 20 years later. Here we are. Right? I'm guessing about 20 years. So take a look. It says like this. Vayirav bar, page 56. There's a famine in the land. Vayired Avram Mitzrayim alogur sham. Avram goes down to Egypt. Ki kaved arav ba'aretz. Now there's a major debate here whether Avram Avinu did the right thing or the wrong thing. The Ramban says that Avram Avinu made a mistake over here. That Avram Avinu should have come to the land of Israel. There's a famine, but God said that come to the land of Israel. There's a famine. Stick it out, and God will work it out for you. Other commentaries say, no, Avraham Avinu came to the land of Israel, there's a famine. Well, what do you do if there's a famine? So you go and look for food. So he goes to Egypt. That's what you say. You're supposed to respond to the circumstances. So there's a difference of opinion whether or not Avraham Avinu sinned by going to Egypt. Either way, as he heads down to Egypt, what does he discover? So he, according to the Medrash, Avraham Avinu had married his wife, and because of the modesty of both of them, he never looked at his wife. Sarah was stunningly beautiful, and Avraham Avinu, out of pure self-control, did not take pleasure by looking at his wife. So he goes crossing a bridge of some sort, and he sees her reflection in the water. He says, "Uh-oh, we're heading for Egypt, and now this is a problem. Right? They're going to see a beautiful woman, and we've got ourselves a problem over here." So, actually, that's an interesting question the commentaries ask. What's the halacha as far as if a man wants to get married, when you meet a potential wife? What does the Gemara say? What's the halacha? What is the minimum requirement as far as, are you allowed to marry a woman sight unseen? No. The Gemara says you have to see your wife before you marry her, that otherwise you might be repulsed. It doesn't say, by the way, that she has to be gorgeous. It doesn't say that anywhere. Because even if she is, she won't be shortly afterwards. But you won't think so anyway. But at the end of the day, it has to be there's nothing repulsive, nothing that repulses you. Okay. That being the case, by the way, it doesn't say a woman has to see her husband. And in certain cases, a man's better off by doing it through correspondence. But what do you call it? Otherwise, it's amazing any of us ever managed to get married. But the requirement is you have to see her. So the commentaries ask, if Avraham Avinu kept the entire Torah, which the Talmud says, he kept even the rabbinic law, even before it was given. Then how could he not know what his wife looked like? Part of rabbinic law is you have to see your wife before you marry. Good question, huh? Good question, right? What do you say, Daniel? Interesting, right? And it says, openly, the Gemara says, according to his opinion, Avraham Avinu kept the entire Torah. He even wore tzitzis, wore tefillin. He kept everything. Rabbinic law. He produced rabbinic law instinctively. What we have to learn from the Torah, he generated it on his own. Okay, be that as it may. The question is if he kept the entire Torah. So how could the Torah say he didn't know what his life looked like? He had Ruach HaKodesh. That's why what?
That's why he knew what his wife looked like.
It doesn't say that. The Medrash says he saw a reflection in the water. And then he says, "Oh, that's what the pasuk says. Look at
her reflection.
Yeah, he saw her reflection. Look at pasuk Yud Aleph. Look at pasuk Yud Aleph. 9 lines from the top. Vayehi kasher hikrivu lavo Mitzrayim, as they got close to Egypt. Vayomer el Sarai ishto hinena yadati kisha yafas marad. Hey, behold, I know that you are a beautiful woman. So Rashi says, what do you mean, behold? What, you didn't know? You didn't know? Okay, so one opinion is, yes, obviously he knew all along. He's just saying, okay, now we got a situation. But the Medrash says, Hine none, now I've realized it because I saw a reflection. I accidentally looked in the water. When you were looking in the water, I realized how beautiful we are. Now we got problems. We're going to Egypt. It's not the seat of morality. So we got a problem here. Right? So that's the commentator says, if that's true, so how could he have married her if he kept the entire Torah? Great question, right? So one answer is, of course he looked at her the first time. Of course he looked at her when he got married. There's one opinion where she was 8 when she got married. Now she's close to 90. He hasn't looked at her in about 72 years. 82 years, sorry. Math was never my forte. Right? 82 years, he hasn't looked at her. All of a sudden, what are you expecting to see? Hey, there's an 82-year-old woman with you, 90-year-old woman with you. What are you expecting to see? He looks down and morning, whoa, I didn't realize. Nothing's changed, right? So all of a sudden, Avram Avinu, now we got to deal with it. Okay, that's one of the answers. The other answer is that he didn't look at her because he knew he never was going to look at her. He never intended to look at her, so he didn't have to see her. He didn't have to see her originally because he never intended to be looking at her. Now, don't get frightened, gentlemen. You could look at your wives. Right? You could look at your wives. And not only that, I would even tell you, your wives want you to look at them, especially when they're talking. Right? You got to make eye contact. This is a big thing. The eye contact, right? Eye contact's a big thing. There's none of this, you're reading the paper while she's talking. Here, Harold, you're not listening to me. I hear every word you're saying. You're not listening with your eyes. Oh, I see. That's what eyes are for. Huh? Yeah. So I thought ears were for listening. No. You will find out, gentlemen. So the wife wants you to look at her, and it's not even something for us to strive at our level. We're not on that level. First stop speaking lashon hara. Once you stop speaking, then we could move into the area of cutting off that which is permissible. Right? You understand? What this is an approach of self-control. If I could control myself in the area of what's permissible, I'll certainly control myself in the area of what's forbidden. So for people at certain levels, this is something that they would engage in. This is an exercise they would engage in. Other people, not at that level, just live normally and don't get your wife upset. Right? That's the rule for us. Okay? Be that as it may, Avram Avinu realizes that he's got a problem. So he comes down, he says to her something very, very puzzling. Now put yourself in her situation. She's with her husband. They're wandering down to Egypt. They're about to get to border control. And Avram says like this. When the Egyptians see you, they'll conclude Ishtozos. This is his wife. They'll kill me and they'll keep you alive. Because they obviously don't want to commit adultery, so they'll murder me to make sure that there's no adultery. So I got an idea. Do me a favor. Imrina achosiat, say that you are my sister. Leman yitav li ba'avurech, that it should be good for me on your account. V'chaysa nafshi b'galech, and I'll be kept alive because of you. Now if you look at Rashi here on Pasuk Yud Gimel, it's in the left column, 5 lines from the bottom. Rashi says, a shocker. This is an absolute shocker. If you find it, please show the person next to you. Leman yitav li ba'avurech, says Rashi, yitznu li matanos. They'll give me gifts. Do me a favor. Tell them you're my... On their way down to Egypt. Says, listen, we got us a... Guy says to his wife, listen, we got us a situation. If we come to Egypt, they're going to kill me and keep you alive. Do me a favor. Tell them you're my sister. That way, they'll give me gifts, and they'll keep me alive. That's one heck of a... In other words, in the old days, what did you do with sisters? What did you do with sisters in the old days, in the ancient world? You traded them for a camel, a couple of sheep, right? That's a sister, fathers with daughters. That's what you did. So everybody says, listen, okay, we got a problem. If you're my wife, they're going to kill me. All right, we're going to have to play the sister game. Which means I'm going to have to pretend you're my sister, and I'm going to have to sell you. You know what? Tell me you're my sister. That way I'll get some money out of this. Plus they'll stay alive. First of all, the order doesn't make sense. I would say the priority is staying alive. And number two, that's a heck of a time to be thinking about money. And number 3, imagine what she's thinking at the time. It was, okay, 1 second. So difficult to understand. When he comes to Egypt, the Mitzrayim see the woman. Says Rashi, they got to Egypt, and it says in what do you call it? It says it in the singular. And the pasuk says, "Vayhi kivo Avram Mitzrayim," says when Avram arrived in Mitzrayim. So Rashi says, 1 second, what would be a more correct way of writing it? When they arrived in Egypt. I mean, he's with his wife. So why is it when he arrived? Says Rashi, well, you know, when they got the border control, what he did was he hit her in a box. When they got the border control, you know, got to the airport, and, you know, there's a red line and a green line, and he just went through like nothing to declare. Right? You know, and he goes through the green line over. The guy's like, hey, come over here. You know, he sees the guy getting off El Al. You know, got a cart filled to the ceiling. Nothing to declare. Oh, what is that? Just your dirty clothes from your trip? You know, nothing to declare. You know, call the guy over. The guy's got an entire electronics factory in there. You know, so call them over. Opened up the box. Hey, there's a woman in the box. Oh yeah, I forgot about her. You know, I forgot about. Got her in Canaan. I just yeah. But I paid taxes on her already. It's okay. Right? Okay. The whole thing's strange. So what do? We'll see in a second. The high officials of Paro see her and they praise her. They say, wow, this one's worthy of Paro, and she's taken to the house of Paro. So the commentaries point out like this. You see what's really going on here is Avram Avinu is caught. Avram Avinu is really caught here. And he also realizes the only thing worse for his wife than being killed is remaining alive. For her, it's worse to stay alive. So what does Avram Avinu do? He says to her, listen, let's be practical here. If I'm dead, you're going to remain alive, then you're really in trouble. But if I stay alive, so you know what's going to happen? If I stay alive, first of all, they're going to give me gifts. They're going to pay for you. That'll give me some financial clout. Maybe I'll be able to buy you out of this. There's at least a chance I'll be able to do something while I'm alive. There's nothing I can do when I'm dead. For your benefit, tell them that you're my sister. So what happens? The Egyptians open the box. And then the plan goes haywire. Because they see her. Avram Avinu never thought, well, no, one of the officials will like her. He didn't anticipate that they're going to immediately say, well, she's for Paro, the king. He didn't. How am I going to deal with the king? No, they can't bribe. You know, how am I going to get her out of the king? It's one thing if it's an official, I could pay him, I could do something. I'm going to take him off to the king. So the Malbim, one of the classic commentaries, he says, what about that question? Why were the Egyptians, they don't want to commit it? Why not just take the married woman? Just take a married woman. Why do you got to kill the husband for it?
No, she's not married. It's committing adultery.
Committing adultery. So murder is okay, but adultery not.
I mean, I guess
To them, okay. So the answer is, first of all, if a husband's alive, let's say they don't care about either. But if a husband's alive, there's a pain in the neck. You know, get the guy out of the way. It can't be good if the husband remains alive. Okay, but there's more than that. The Malbim says in the ancient world, they believed that a woman who was so beautiful was some sort of goddess. And she's only fit for the king. And any commoner that's married to her is actually in violation of the law. And in the old days there were no parking tickets. In the old days there was only one law, you died. You know, you double parked, they executed you. That was it. There's nothing. You left your donkey. You took somebody else's property. You left your donkey unattended. You know, death. That was it. They didn't mess around. There's no parole in the other days. Okay, he's out on parole. There's no parole, right? You broke the law, you died. Especially in Egypt with monarchs. You took a woman that the king is supposed to marry. You're a commoner. You're going to die. In other words, it wasn't even murder. By their standards, it was a murder. He deserved to die. He deserves to be executed. He broke the law. So Avram Avinu did not expect her. She's going to be taken by Paro. There goes the plan of being able to bail her out. So what happens? She goes up to Paro. And then the Torah says Avram Avinu is made rich. And then Sarah gets, so how do we get out of this? Top of page 58. Vayinaga Hashem es Paro negoim gedolim. Kodesh Baruch Hu plagued Paro. Ve'ez beso al dvar Sorai Eish Avram, because of the matter of Sorai Eish Avram. So Rashi says, they were alone in the room. I'll get to what I'm saying here. They were alone in the room, and you know, Paro didn't. She wasn't brought to the palace in order to discuss philosophy. And when they were alone in the room, so Sarah said, "Listen, I'm a married woman. Don't touch me." And Paro said, "Yeah. I've heard that before. Yeah." And as Paro approached, the angel stepped in. As the old saying goes, three's a crowd, right? And every time Sarah said, "Smack him," the angel smacked them. I mean, they could have made I can imagine Paro says, what was that? You know, well, I guess it's my imagination. He gets up again, smack him, you know, till he gets the message and he lets her go. Now, question. This is called a test for Avram Avinu. When Sarah gets taken, it's called a test. Problem is like this. If I say to you, fire or Nimrod, that's a test. What are you going to choose? If I say to you, obey to travel or don't obey to travel, that's a test. What's the test over here? He had no choice. He goes to Egypt, and they take the wife. What's his test over here? Oh, very good. Faith in God. In other words, like this. Imagine a guy who's got an attractive wife, and they're on a trip to Washington, D.C., standing outside the White House. Bill Clinton's the president. And Hillary's in China on some diplomatic mission. He sent her there with a one-way ticket. Right? And all of a sudden, the Secret Service guys come out and they say, "Hi, ma'am, the president would like to speak to you." The husband starts walking in, and right at the gate, they say, "Far enough, buddy." And they lock the gate, and they take the wife in. Bill Clinton's the president. Right? That pales in comparison to what Avram Avinu was going through. Paro made Bill Clinton look like a Boy Scout. And sorry, man is in there alone. That's an intense test. The test in this case is not a test of choice. It says, what's your response? How do you respond as an individual? You say, "Listen, God, thanks a lot. I did what you wanted. I went the extra 10 yards for you, and here you go. And this is what you put me through." Or you turn around and say, "This is also for the best. I'm sure it'll work. I'm sure this is what God wants. I didn't make it. This is God's testing. How am I going to react?" Being stuck in a traffic jam is a test, gentlemen. It's not a test of choice. Most people I know would choose not to get stuck in traffic. Hey, let's go get stuck in traffic today. I don't know anybody who ever said that. Which way should we go? Well, let's go this way. It's clearer. Let's go this way. There's more traffic. Yeah, let's take the traffic. Nobody ever chooses that, right? The choice is when you're stuck in traffic, you start smashing the dashboard and using all sorts of vocabulary, or you just say, "Listen, this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted." That's the test for Avraham Avinu. That's the test. I saw an incredible insight. One of the commentaries says, you know the story about a woman who is a sota, was accused by her husband of infidelity. So, she drinks the water in the Beis HaMikdash, and if she's guilty, she dies. What happens if she's not guilty? What happens if the husband made a mistake? She was alone with another man, and she made a mistake. What happens? What happens? She gets pregnant. So one of the commentaries says that's what happened over here. Sarah Imenu went through a sota-like experience over here. And this is going to lead to her then getting pregnant and having a child. She went through a sota. She was innocent. She went through a sota. And by the way, there's intense pressure on Sarah Imenu.
Why Avram accused her?
He didn't accuse her, but that's why I say it was a parallel type of experience. It wasn't exactly he didn't accuse her. But just imagine, just remember, I'm sure that Paro, when she came into the palace, Paro probably said something like, "Hey, listen, I don't know what you want with that guy. I give you everything over here. I'll give you everything over here. You have a palace. You're going to be the queen of Egypt. You're going to rule the world. You got everything." I'm sure he tried convincing her. That's why I said, "No, I'm not interested." So she goes through a sota-like experience, and that's part of the process. When the character says part of the process is going to lead up to her eventually having a child. Harry, go ahead, question.
Like, why did Avram, or Avram in this case, have to be scared of his wife? Did he have lack faith in Hashem, and he felt like he had to change things around?
It's a good question. It's not a question of changing things around. It's a question of responding logically to the situation. That means we don't rely on miracles.
Okay.
We rely on Hashem by not relying on the miracles. So a person gets sick. So just rely on Hashem. No. Go to the doctor and then rely on Hashem. I need to make a parnasa. Go to work and rely on Hashem. Right? But don't. It's not like I rely on Hashem, therefore I don't have to do anything. What's the logical thing for a guy who's going into Egypt with a beautiful wife? Logical thing is hide her. Make up a story. It's the logical thing. That's my hishtadlus. Now I have faith that Hashem will help me out. Okay. All right, we'll stop here, gentlemen.